for a long time. He didn't want to miss it, but I said, no, don't miss the Thunderbirds. They ain't going to be around too much longer. All right, so this morning we're going to be talking a little bit about psychology of trading. And really, I don't do a lot of frou-frou stuff. I'm a pretty matter-of-fact guy, and get right down to business, which I'm going to be doing here. This morning, I was talking to Tom Busby, who's the founder of DTI, and we were just talking about, and he and I have had these conversations before over dinner and things like that over the years, in terms of just what really seems to be a difficult thing for people. And a lot of times we see people put a lot of effort in, and then they really don't complete what they had planned on doing. And if any of you were here 2 weeks ago, I did the 3 Ds of mindfulness trading. Now, if you missed that, I do have a YouTube video. You can email me at that Trader Shepherd email, and I will get you a link to it. I don't have the link right now. Just getting to be an expert at YouTube, and I opened up a YouTube account. It's a pretty long file. It goes for about 55 minutes, but it was kind of a nice segue into this presentation, and I will do it again in the future, but if you'd like to see it, just email me and I'll get you that link. I was having trouble getting it up here. I was actually working till 2 o'clock last night for some things I had to do here unrelated to DTI, so it's been kind of a busy day already. But anyway, I was talking to Tom Busby, and we were just talking about things, and it reminded me of, and I believe it was Napoleon Hill in his book, and I think a lot of you probably relate to this. I can too. It was about this man, and he was one of these, gold miners, and he was searching for gold and digging every day of his life, and finally he just, he wasn't finding that gold, and he was just getting exhausted. And he finally just quit and said, just enough, threw down his shovel and went, and, I don't know what he did, probably drank himself to death. I don't know. I can't remember the rest of the story. But one of the things that happened was this poor guy was digging, and he didn't realize it, but he was only 3 feet away from the gold. And so this other guy came along, started digging, and in less than an hour, he hit this big vein of gold. And a lot of times we can be like that guy who've been searching for things all our lives in a variety of ways, or searching for the Holy Grail and such, and then we find out that it was right there. And a lot of times what happens is there's just simple emotions. It could be regret, it could be fear, and those emotions really prevent us from making those last 3 feet. Maybe it's exhaustion. So what I've really been trying to do with my psychology workshop, and those of you who know me, I teach an options class, been doing it for over 3.5 years. I've actually revised that class, and I'm actually revising all my classes as I get feedback from students. I'm very good about that. And really, I'm here today to start to introduce you into some psychological concepts. This is pretty much information-based, not necessarily workshop-based. I won't fix all the problems of the world in the next 40 minutes. However, what I want to do is I want to try to help you remove some of your fear and doubt when you look at trading, and try to extract that away for you. I really see so many people, and I've worked with so many traders, and I work with other people too. You can see I'm a psychologist, and a lot of these people, they get so close to that pot of gold, and they just don't make it. If you have a problem with that, I'll broadcast. I'm not going to interrupt now to broadcast it, but I will get it projected back there. If you're having trouble with the PDF, we'll get it in there later for you. I see people just struggle with things, and not just in trading. I mean, I've done a lot of consulting. Athletes too. That those last 3 feet of the race, and you just can't make it. And it's really unfortunate, because when you learn about human performance, what you learn is that a lot of times it's that psychological edge. And so as traders, we also need a trader psychological edge. Everybody, if you've checked that and it works, if it's coming up blank, I'll do it again. I could put the regular slides, but a lot of times people say they don't work. So let me look at it again. It looked like there was a processing error, but I don't want to disrupt our flow right now. It is in the PDF. Yes, it is in the PDF documents folder, correct. So you can try clicking on that. It might be just a link in here. Adam, I'll let you take care of that while I continue on. So basically, a little bit about myself. I've been a clinical psychologist for many years. I've done direct clinical work. I've done mentoring, counseling, and educating for more than that, 30 years. I've supervised doctors, supervised people with master's degrees, supervised people for licensure. Although I'm a clinical psychologist, I've even supervised and taught physicians at Mayo Clinic and at University of Florida. So I have a wide spread of experience. So, and I'll tell you, you traders are easy compared to some of those guys. You know, you try to teach doctor stuff, good luck to you. You know, and I don't mean to offend any doctors here because I'm one too, but even Ph.D.s, I mean, we're a hard lot, you know, so you guys are kind of nice and easier, and like, why do you do these guys? Hey, they're a lot easier. But so I've done that. I've traded for a long time, won a number of awards, even those in psychology. I don't want to be talking about myself. I've mentored in stocks, options, and futures, and human performance, psychology of trading. And I've also had some dabbling. Actually, I have a board certification in neurofeedback, which is brainwave analysis and brainwave training. So actually training your brain, you know, psychophysiology, biofeedback, hypnosis, have massive training in that. And I've been slowly given diversions and distractions working on getting a program put together. And again, this stuff is very time consuming. But anyway, so I have a foot in the door of psychology and I have the foot in the door of trading. And so I'm fortunate enough or blessed enough to have it in both sides. And yes, Tony, it is in that documents folder. It's called Psychology of Trading 2. And again, I'll let Adam handle that. Okay, so one of the questions you have to ask yourself is, why are you here? Why are you here listening to this presentation? Maybe just had a bored Saturday, but really, you know, why are you here? You know, you're probably here, you know, for some education, you know, maybe learn some little edge about trading. Maybe you want to just improve your returns. Some of us, a lot of us, I know I was this way 15 years ago, somewhat of a career change. For me, it was more of a retirement change to have something to do in retirement so I don't have to pay for an office and staff and all that type of thing. Some of you have been through that, and some of you just may be curious. And some of you may be from other programs who just want to get tips. I've had many people from other programs here. I won't mention them, but kind of lurking around, learning stuff, and I see my slides appear or my concepts appear in their presentations. And that's wonderful. Some DTI people have left and got other people's and shared my concept. You know, imitation is a form of flattery. So if I'm that valuable, that's wonderful. So if you're here from another program, welcome. Just don't sell your program here, or Tom will kill you. But bottom line is that we don't mind, you know, sharing with people the concept of synergy and abundance, and that's what I try to do. You know, a lot of people who come to trading, who are coming to trading, aren't, you know, like 19-year-old guys who say, I want to be a trader, although there's a few of those. Sometimes they're the kids of people who come for training and said they wish their kids would get this, but at that age, you don't really understand the power of what you're doing, and sometimes, you know, you want to be whatever, a psychologist, or you want to be an engineer, and then after you've worked for 20 years and see how hard it is and stuff, like you see these guys trading and making easier money and say, what am I doing? So anyway, most people who come here are those of us who came from other professions. I was the same way a number of years ago. And what we're trying to do is find another way to earn income for a variety of reasons, and one of the reasons may be, for me it was have a better retirement, or maybe you had a negative experience with a brokerage firm. All those things come in and influence why we're here. And, you know, as part of that question of why are you here, I also asked, if you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing right now? It's really interesting, you know. And if you had it, unless you just like to trade, you wouldn't be here. You'd be on a boat somewhere in Hawaii, or Tom Busby would be going to air shows all over the world, or playing golf in Scotland or something like that. I probably wouldn't be here either. So, you know, what you have to say is, you know, if you had all the money in the world, what would you be doing right now? Now, I ask that for two reasons, and one is to make sure you know why you're here and to encourage you to focus on what the goal is here, but also to think about, if you start making money in the markets, what are you going to do with it? You might just want to retire and sit on an island somewhere, or sit in the mountains somewhere, or you might want to give charitable donations or do things like that. It's very important to ask that to yourself, because, you know, money is just a medium of exchange. You know, money in of itself is really useless, maybe worthless with what the Fed's doing, but bottom line is it's money is something we get to get other things. I mean, we just don't get money to hoard money. That psychologically is a problem. If you're doing that, you need to go talk to somebody. Most of us are here because we got to eat, or we want a decent retirement, things like that. So when you do start making money in the market, the other thing is, what is your ultimate goal with this stuff? And so what I would say is, let's say you're already there. Let's say you've listened to this presentation, you've done your training, you're making a lot of money, and some of this money can be really high if you control your emotions and you really get your psychological house in order. And so, think about that target. I knew one guy who told me, he wanted one of these, I don't even, Tom would have to help me, one of these airplanes, the small jets that you buy to fly around with. And I saw a picture of it. It was beautiful, all high tech. This is about 15 years ago. I've seen other guys show the Ferrari, and that's fine. But it's very good to have that, So realize that even though we're here to get the edge to make money or to make money, ultimately focus on that ultimate goal. It's very, very valuable. There's a lot that's been written about this and about mindfulness, and it can really help you. So the first thing I want to emphasize, we'll talk about why you're immediately here, but then I want you to keep in your mind, what is my ultimate goal? And never lose sight of that target, never lose sight of that goal, never be diverted, never be distracted. And I actually talk about that in another presentation called the 3 Ds of Mindfulness Training, and I will get it to you. If before I'm done here I can get the link out, I'll post it here so you don't even have to email me. So honestly, why are you here? You're here because you want to make money. You're here because you want to see, what kind of edges you can learn about. Now again, in 30 minutes, 40 minutes, I'm not going to turn you around psychologically as a trader, but at least I'm going to give you some ideas. I'm going to create the spark. We spend so much time looking at charts and looking for the Holy Grail, and one thing that you got to realize, as a psychologist, I've learned this, as a human performance person, I've learned this. What we're all doing is we're all looking outside. We're looking outside of ourselves. And that's good, because I don't know everything. I have to ask Tom. I have to ask other people what's going on, I have to ask Jeffrey sometimes and Adam sometimes who are in the room. Some of my students have to ask. But it's real important also to look inside, because, if you don't get a checkup from the neck up, you're going to be in trouble as a trader. And I've heard this from so many people. I've talked to guys on the floors. I've personally met with Tom Sosanoff. I've personally met with Tony Batista over at Tasty Trade. I met with a lot of people, VPs of corporation. And when we talk, and there's been a lot of books about this, if you don't do your checkup from the neck up, you're in trouble. And so we're all here to make money. We want to do this, but we have to say is, all right, our goal is money. That's what we're here. We're trying to get better at making money and making more money and being more efficient with what we're doing. But we also have to be aware of what other things interfere with this goal. You have family issues, you have health issues, things interfere, and those are come and go things, but a lot of times it's kind of dragons that we've tried to slay over the years. So my first thing is try to focus on that target. What's the main target? Okay, so a little tongue-in-cheek here, but, I ask, would you go fishing in a hurricane? Okay, so, when I'm trading, I can't have distractions. I can have a lot of stuff, and I'm not even talking about physical distractions. I'm talking about distractions in my brain, things that I have to worry about, an emergency that happens, so on and so forth. A good friend of mine, and Tom's, who is a member of DTI, I've known he passed away a couple of weeks ago. Tom called me. I mourned for him, I prayed for him, and then I had to move on. And I remember him, and I've actually eulogized him once in one of my Tuesday night presentations. But bottom line is you have to move on. So if that's on my head, I can't be trading. So, you got to think about things, and these are good analogies. I live in Florida, and I go fishing. I get nervous when the storm starts building up offshore or on the intercoastal. I sure wouldn't want to go fishing in a hurricane, because I'd either drown or be eaten by something. They actually saw a great white off the coast of Florida, so I don't want one of those guys messing with me. So anyway, you wouldn't be fishing in a hurricane. Here's another thing. Would you go shopping the day before a sale? If you knew there was a sale coming, you would wait for the sale. Well, what am I talking about here? I'm talking about timing. You have to be thinking about not only are you being distracted, what else is going on, but what is the timing of the market? Oh, I'm going to trade an hour before the Fed announces. Bad idea. The sale hasn't happened yet. And so you got to think about that. How are we thinking? Are we fishing in a hurricane? Are we running out and going shopping and spending what we have for shopping, and then we find out that there was a sale, and worse, it's okay, you can bring it back, but it would be like knowing there's a sale, but you impulsively go out shopping before the sale occurs. makes no sense, right? And finally, for my friend Tom Busby and some of the other guys, would you go golfing during a thunderstorm? Here's another thing. If the markets are really whipping and volatile, and it's not a good market condition, why are you going out there and try to play in that situation? Even the best golfers know to come in from the golf course during a thunderstorm. Here in the South, we have these alarms. They may have them all over that go off when there's lightning bolts several miles away from the course. People gotten zapped on the course. So you got to tell yourself, would I go fishing during a hurricane? Would I shop the day before a sale? Would I go golfing during a thunderstorm? Well, I hope the answer is no. Okay, the answer should be no. If you don't know it, the answer is no. And so I ask a question to myself and all of us, then why do we trade in less than optimal conditions? And I see people doing this all the time. I was talking with another trader, long-time DTI student, Charlie Prince. We were just talking, and we were seeing some good trade setups, and I think it was Tuesday or Thursday. I was Tuesday, I believe, and the Fed was having some announcement, and we were seeing good stuff, and we knew where things might go. And I says, and I actually saw some good options trades. And I said, Charlie, we need to go off to lunch or something, and get away from this market. And we did, and I said, I'll call you back later. Why? Well, because, you shouldn't be trading in less than optimal conditions. And this just isn't news events. This is also time of day. At DTI, we talk about specific trade zones, specific times. There's some really good times to trade pre-market, what we call the early bird. There's times after hours that we call the after hours. We've got all these little things. Well, why do people do that? Because these guys got a lot of experience, Don't be trading between 2:30 and 3 during the week, because the market reverses unless you know that, and you're going to take advantage of it. So again, you got to tell yourself, why am I doing this? Why am I doing this? Well, it's all in our brain. Okay. So what are the optimal conditions? The real optimal conditions for a trader. Now, we want a little bit of volatility, because I don't want a market just sits there that's dead. Even as an options trader, I say, I can trade low volatility environments, yes. But that's not my favorite kind of trade. That doesn't bring in the biggest results. But you don't want it so volatile that you get whipped up and beat around. And also, part of volatility is looking at your time frames. Unless you're a really good scalper, you look at a 1 or 2 minute time frame, you might use that as an entry, but you don't want to use that as your chart that you're going to read. In fact, I would say that 15 minutes should be your shortest, longer time frame to look at. So, Charlie Prince and I have talked about, we said, what? When we look at daily charts and we look at hourly charts, even though a lot of times at DTI, I'll be looking at 15 and 30-minute charts, those things give me the end caps, or the beginnings of reversals, or real resistances or supports. So you start learning that. So, bottom line is you don't want volatility to be real high. The other thing is you want a high liquidity. You want good liquid conditions in the market. You don't want to trade, let's say, a stock or an option that has no liquidity, or a future that has minimal liquidity. There's futures on stocks. Very few people trade them. Why? Because the liquidity's never been there. So you got to be careful of that. That's the number of contracts that trade, or the number of shares that trade. Also, you want to make sure that when you're taking the trades, and volatility and liquidity and time of day all play into this, you also want to have high probability trades, and also high return trades for that matter. And I see some really good trades out there sometimes, options and futures, and the risk reward isn't there. I'm not going to make enough money out of this to waste my time with it. So high probability is important. And then finally, I talked about risk. High probability with low risk. Now, you always have to have some risk. The guy who dug that hole for the gold, he had some risk. So you got to have some risk, but you don't want to be digging for gold where there's a bunch of rattlesnakes all over the ground. And I just give you this. I'm not really trying to talk about trading directly, but I'm trying to give you, because a lot of times I'll tell students, why do you trade in less than optimal conditions? I'll say, well, what are those? So that's why I'm giving that to you. So again, I'm going to talk more psychologically, but I wanted to give you what those situations were, because you won't be trying to wonder, well, okay, he talked about it, what it was. But I'm pretty much going to talk more psychology here. So why are you trading? You got to keep on asking yourself this. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I see people get caught up in indicators. See people get caught up in the Holy Grail, and it's like, whoa, back up here, dudes. What are we doing here? We're trying to make money. You know, and these things can be distractions. And if you saw my presentation 2 weeks ago, and I'll get the link for you, distractions lead to diversions, what lead to division. And guess what? Special forces guys do that to you, and you fail, and you get slaughtered. We joke around. I created this thing with a couple other students. We were talking about, you know, the specialists, and now you can call them the computers. We call them the pig men. You know, they're going around, they're stealing your money, and they're pigs. You know, they won't stop grabbing the money. You know, you don't want to become, you know, their bacon. We want to strip their bacon from the pig men. So, you know, you got to ask yourself, why am I trading? And also, by the way, we are trading, when we're futures trading or options trading, and we're trading like the E-mini, or we're trading gold, or we're trading crude, or we're trading Apple options or Apple, do you realize that you're trading not only against some of the best traders in the world, but against some of the best computer programmers in the world? You got to be aware of that. And those computers don't have the psychological problems we do. And many of those traders, if they're hot traders, some of these guys who work for Goldman and stuff, I mean, Goldman will pay someone like me $10,000 an employee to teach stuff to them as a group. In fact, I may be doing some of that stuff in the not too near future in addition to doing this. I mean, these guys are highly trained. Some of these guys are special forces guys. They've had a lot of human performance training, or Air Force fighter pilots or Navy fighter pilots. You would believe the training that some of these guys get, and we think we're going to trade against them successfully. So we have to have the psychological edge to do that. Okay. Now, although these aren't our intentions, we often will find that we start coming here to trade, but then what ends up happening is we start getting other things. You get bored, so you take a trade. Oh, you know, this is interesting. I saw this presentation on candlesticks. Let me go look at that, and I'm curious. But now I'm getting diverted again. Not that it's not a good approach, but, you know, look at the numbers, look at the data, control your mind, and don't get too distracted. You know, also don't let ego get in here. I've seen people, both men and women. I always thought it was a guy's problem. I've seen some really high charger women who'll be clicking a mouse like crazy and lose $25,000 in a couple of hours. It's a challenge, you know, and then it gets gambling. And if you're not prepared, both with your education and your risk management, and you don't manage your emotions, then you're gambling, whether you know it or not. Also, this is not entertainment. You know, if I want entertainment, I go to a movie, I go to a baseball game, I go to a hockey game, you know, and definitely I'm not here to redistribute my wealth. Well, guess what? I don't even want to count or talk about how many traders I have met who gave all their money away. I mean, you know, just give it to a charity. Don't give it to Goldman or Merrill or all those guys or some big brokerage firm out there. Or not that these guys aren't good people there, but why are you giving them their money? You know, we all complain about giving taxes to the government and what the government puts on us, and us highly intelligent men and women are now giving our money to people who probably don't even need it, so they can get a new Ferrari or a new jet. You got to think about this. So what we have to tell ourselves over and over again, and when I get this posted out to you, or you can even just make one of these yourself and print it out, make a copy of this and put it over your trading desk and put it over your mirror where you brush your teeth if you trade every day. Why are you trading? To make money. Keep telling yourself, show me the money, the old Jerry Maguire. Show me the money. It sounds ridiculous, but you better ask yourself every day, show me the money. I'm here to make money. It's kind of like a mantra, but you got to do that because we get distracted. You know, in addition to being a trader, I'm a psychologist. I run a psychological practice. You know, Tom is a trader. He also is running a trading business. This stuff gets distracting for us. We got to remind ourselves, why am I here? To make money. And I don't always do it the way I should. I mean, I try to practice what I preach. So I would encourage you, and I'll get this out there to you, but it's easy for you to type this out and put it above. Make it a poster. Why are you trading? To make money. I'm here to make money. It sounds ridiculous, but I would bet 50% of this people in this room will confess, and you don't have to confess here. I'm not a priest, you know. But basically, I know this time when the Catholics go to confess, and I am a Catholic, so I'm not afraid to say that. But you know, we're not here to do confessions. But honestly, I would say, 50% of the time, I don't know where the heck my head was at. I don't know what I was doing. I should know what I'm doing, but like, are you making money here right now, Dr. Stanley? No. I know I have a fairly good IQ. Well, then you better get your checkup from the neck up, buddy. I talk to myself a lot. Anyway, so try to remember that. Another thing that you need to do is, one thing I learned a long time ago is called comfort zones. And I try to teach this to my kids, and actually younger people are better than they are than older people as myself. The older you get, the more you restrict your zone of comfort. You know, we really need to increase our zone of comfort of what we're doing. And comfort, and why I bring this up is two things. Increase our zone of comfort in terms of what instruments we trade or our approach to trading, but also increase our zone of comfort of looking inside. You know, we're not afraid to put $100,000 on the line. I've seen some really brilliant guys. You would be amazed at how afraid they are to look inside themselves. Now, maybe we have some demons or dragons we have to slay. But, you know, I've talked to some traders, and it's really funny after I've done some of these presentations, they'll ask me, who are some licensed psychologists in my area that I could talk to? I think I got a problem. Well, they're not crazy. If they were crazy, they wouldn't be there. You know, these are very bright people. And what happens a lot of times? Well, fear can often be a problem for us. You probably heard the fear and greed thing. Okay, thank you, Adam. You know, you have this thing and you have fear. You know, a lot of times we think of fear as our enemy. Well, it doesn't really have to be. In fact, there's a very good book, if you've never read it, it's called The Gift of Fear. Believe it or not, I learned about this gift from another psychologist. I met her in a computer store. I hadn't seen her in a while. And she was telling me that she had worked with a guy who was a big hedge fund manager. And she isn't even a trader. I mean, it just so happened one of the clients who came in was a fund manager. And he was failing. I mean, this guy was making millions of dollars a year, and he was losing money. And he was a smart guy. He went and consulted with her. And, you know, she told him about this book called The Gift of Fear. Now, it's more psychological than trader-related. Maybe I got to do my trader version. But he read this, and it turned his whole fund around. You know, and she told me that story, and she just told me, you know, you should read this book, The Gift of Fear. I bought it. This goes back over 10, 15 years. Can't remember, at least 10 years. I bought the book, and it's kind of an amazing book, but it's trying to have you understand that anxiety and fear, it's part of the fight or flight response. I'm blanking on it, but if you Google The Gift of Fear, you'll find it. Not Google it, just go to Amazon. Probably get it used now for $1. I'm sorry, I can't remember the author, but it's The Gift of Fear. And there's only one of them out there. But that you know, it's that concept of that fear is our friend. It's part of the fight or flight response. Okay? Thank you, Tom. And we have wonderful people. We have some really great students and people who come. They're always helping, posting stuff. I really appreciate that help because I've got a lot I got to cover. But anyway, I want you to change your thing around. You know, don't let fear guide you. As you expand your circle of comfort, realize that fear is a gift that has been given to you for survival. That fight or flight response is survival. And if we understand that, then it becomes our friend and it becomes our ally. So I'm not trying to promote that book, but if you want to read an interesting book, it's a very interesting book, more psychologically oriented, but you'll get the concept very quickly. And the whole book is hammering at you as how anxiety and fear is a gift, not an enemy, and some ways that you can work on your own fear. And you just translate it into trading. I probably need to do The Gift of Fear for traders. I'm always telling Tom I'm writing books, and I'm halfway through like 2 of them. Of course, got to watch the distraction and diversion there because I've got other things I have to do. My target is to be a trader, teach people about psychology trading, and make money, not necessarily write a book. So anyway, so increase your zone of comfort, as I call it. Now, how can you do this? So I'll give you a little bit of help here, okay? You know, getting education is important, but don't get overeducated. I mean, there's 2 sides to this. You know, get educated. That's important. Another thing really that goes with it is you got to have experience. You know, when I was doing my master's thesis, I was actually, believe it or not, my doctoral dissertation was on fear, which is very interesting. Just realized that it was on fear, and actually it was a mathematical analysis of how to look at the placebo effect in dealing with treatments using public speaking anxiety as the template. And actually on my master's or my pre-master's, we actually used snakes. We used fear of snakes because it was a very easy thing to use. Well, you know, most people aren't real happy about snakes. Well, what happens with snakes? Well, first we teach you about, how about the reality of snakes. Snakes aren't out there to eat you or to bite you or that kind of stuff, despite what we see. It's like Jaws. Most sharks don't care about you, So, you've got to get educated on how to handle the snake. Then someone has to show you, has to supervise you in the handling. And then you have to have experience, and then you have to repeat it over and over again, and then your fear goes away. And before you know it, you get part of a community of snake handlers. So as a trader, we do the same thing. I mean, you know what? Let me tell you, you might be better off getting bit by a non-poisonous snake. Thank you, Gavin DeBecker's the author. Gavin DeBecker's the author of that. Thank you, Rick, of Gift of Fear. But I think most of us would be better off getting bit by a non-poisonous snake, or if we had the anti-venom of poisonous snake, than going into some of these markets. Because I'll bet you many people here will tell you they got bit by the market. So again, we try to get educated. We get experience. You got to be in the market. You can't just do this virtual. Virtual trading is for your platform. It's learning about your platform, but you will not experience the emotion. I've seen multimillionaires when it comes to virtual trading, and they get into trading, and I preach to people not to do this. I looked it out, and I can make $20,000 a day, and I keep on telling them, don't do that, don't do that, don't do that. Look at 3 contract clocks maximum, but they keep hedging back, and I see them fail. And it's, again, I'm giving them benefit of my experience. The other thing is repetition. Anything you do over and over again, you get better at it. Stephen Covey has a book called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Very good book, by the way. I'm not here to sell books, but it's a good book. And basically what I want to say about that is he said, if you do something 7 times, you will really start to command it. Okay, so if you want to memorize something, you've got to repeat it to yourself 7 times. There's something about that 7 that's programmed in our brain. 6 minimum, but 7 kind of caps it, because by 7 it should come out automatically, like you're driving a car and not thinking about it. Okay, so basically you do it 7 times. Also, one other thing that I do, because I've read Covey's book a couple of times, was also they say, and then teach other people. And one of the reasons I teach in the markets and I teach here is also to make me better. It takes a lot of command if you want to be a good teacher. Every time I teach about psychology of trading, I see my weaknesses, and it makes me a better trader. Every time I teach about options, or I teach about futures, I teach dominantly options, it makes me a better options trader. And also hear stories from other people. That's the community part of this. I get to be part of a community, the community of other traders and their experiences. The other thing is if you think you're going to do something like this and you don't get supervision, you're making a serious mistake. It doesn't have to be Tom or I or someone at TTI. It could be another seasoned trader, but you got to get someone to give you supervision. Someone has to watch what you're doing. In most professions, even in college, you get supervision by professors. When I became a Ph.D., even after a Ph.D. and I'm getting board certifications, I have to be supervised. Not only do I have to be supervised, I have to be mentored. I pay for this stuff. This stuff can be $200 an hour. Doesn't mean I'm not making any money, but a lot of times if they're going to put that board stamp on you, or even if you're going to get licensed, they worry about a license because they don't want us to be a danger to the community. The reasons why doctors and professionals are licensed, now we can still be dangerous, but, is to reduce that risk. Well, we're the public, so we got to protect ourselves from ourselves. And supervision and mentoring is very important. You do some of this is by journaling. If you're somewhat isolated, do journaling. Review your trades. Review the journaling of your trades. If you can work with someone one-on-one, that's even better. Okay, that's even better. So these are all the ways that you can increase your circle of comfort. Now, a very important thing is what I call bridging the gap. And you don't think about this, but there are cultural differences. People who actually look at this stuff, there's cultural differences between myself and someone in Africa, or myself and someone in China. By the way, there's cultural differences. I'm in my 50s. There's cultural differences between me and someone who's 30 or 40 years old, whether I realize that or not. Because the world I grew up in is not exactly the world they grew up in. So be very aware of that. That there are cultural differences. Well, just like you have those kind of cultural differences, the other kind of cultural difference we have is between what we were doing before, what our profession, if you will, or our type of work was before, or what we're continuing to doing, and trading. And I don't care if you're a diesel mechanic. I've seen really good traders who are a diesel mechanic. I don't care if you're a rocket scientist. We have some rocket scientists in TTI, believe it or not. It's amazing the different types of personalities and backgrounds we came from. what you got to do is you got to write a list. And you write a list of the similarities between what you've done in your past career now and what you're doing, what you're going to do as a trader. And then start transferring all those similarities and then see what you can do to smooth out the differences. You know, very simple similarity is that most of us do some kind of homework. We do some kind of prep. If you're a guy who does body work, you prep the body on the car before you paint it, you know, or you estimate it. Well, you know, as a psychologist, I prepare for my cases in a variety of ways. You know, well, as a trader, I have to do some homework too. I don't have to be there all night long. That's not good homework. If you're learning, that's okay to spend hours and hours. But once you're there, if you're spending 8 hours a night studying, then something's wrong and you got to talk to somebody about it. You either have a real serious cognitive problem. By the way, I have worked with some traders who I later found out they had head injuries or they had some serious events that happened. And I have to divert them to somebody else to deal with those head injuries. And they didn't even think about it. And actually like, oh my gosh, you know, you almost got killed 2 years ago and you had a rod stuck in your brain. How well are you functioning? That's a little extreme, but believe it or not, I've seen it happen. So you look at the similarities and differences. What is the similarity between what I've done before? And you'll find a good number of similarities. The other thing I want to talk to you about is conflict resolution. How do we handle conflicts in our life? Now, some of us avoid conflict, and we don't like to deal with conflict. Now, we don't want to be arguing with everybody all the time or arguing with ourselves all the time, but how do you handle conflict? If you've had ways at work or even within yourself you've handled conflict, this is a good way to handle the conflict between the differences. There will be some conflict. There will be some differences. You know, as a pilot, you may have a ground crew. Well, you don't have the equivalent of a ground crew when you're trading by yourself. You actually do. Some of the people at DTI, your mentor, your supervisor, other traders, they could be part of your ground crew, but you have to realize there's conflict. So think about how to, you know, transfer that over. How do you transfer that over? Okay, one very important thing I have to say about trading, and this is very different from any other kind of business unless you run a casino in Vegas. Well, now they got casinos all over the place, but this is a probability-based business. Yes, they'll get them to you guys if you need the slides, and I'll post them again at the end of the presentation, okay? Don't worry, we'll get them to you. And Adam will, if you go Adam Yabedra, he'll get them to you too. I don't know, there was some kind of hiccup and I wanted to roll along here. But realize that trading is a probability-based business. So you have to think now you're doing something different. You know, when I see clients, my goal is I want 100% success, meaning I don't want anybody killing themselves or killing somebody else, and I want someone's depression to get better. Well, you're never going to have 100% probability, but you know, I've got to keep working on it until I get it there. No matter how good you work as a trader, you're going to have some losses. It's going to happen. You have to focus on the probabilities. Psychologically, you have to convert your mind, and especially if you're in engineering or something, you're actually dealing with probabilities as an engineer or probabilities as a pilot, but you have to realize this is different. You know, there are things that are definitely beyond your control, like a tsunami or a tailwind or one of these shearing winds. So there's certain things you can't control. So you have to realize that I don't want you crashing any planes or having any bridges fall, mind you, or any rockets crashing to the ground, although that's been known to happen sometimes. But the bottom line is, you know, you want to realize that this is very different from anything we've done. You can do everything right and still have something go wrong. That's why we do good risk management, by the way. So in general, you want to make a psychological transition from where you are or where you were to being that of a trader. And you are an online trader. You know, we can only learn a certain amount from floor traders because I've talked to a lot of floor traders who suck at being online traders. Okay, it's a whole different breed. It's a whole different world. There's psychological cues that you don't get as an online trader. So, you know, you're actually not just becoming a professional trader, you're becoming an online person. All right, let's talk a little about identity. This is very important. I've talked about bridging the gap and increasing our circle of comfort. You know, what are we doing here? Are we dabbling in this trading? Are we doing it to just have some fun? Are we doing it like we play golf? Or are we wanting to be a professional? I would strongly encourage all of us, I know myself included, that when I am in that trader seat, I must be a professional trader. And even though I have that intention, there's other things, you know, I'm a professional parent, I'm a professional husband, professional psychologist. I can pretty much cut the psychologist from the trader in my psychology practice. When I'm there trading, I have no patients around. I'm not even in my psychology practice. I'm in my trading place at home. But, you know, bottom line is I have to think like a professional. This is not a game, okay? You know, that's what you have to think about. So, you know, what exactly is a professional? So let's just hone this down a little bit, okay? And we're talking about Tom, so forgive me, Tom, but we're going to talk about you a little bit here today. Poor Tom Busby. So Webster's definition of what a professional is, well, fairly clearly, it's someone who participates in some activity that amateurs participate in too, but they're doing it for a gain or to make a livelihood. A lot of people go out and counseling people, and but they're, I mean, I make a living at being a psychologist. I make a living at being, you know, someone who I had to get licensed and all this kind of stuff. I am a professional clinical psychologist. I'm also a professional trader. You know, I'm doing this for a gain or a livelihood. All right, very important. So first thing is, amateurs can do it too, but this is what, you know, you're doing to make money, okay? You're engaging in this. It still can be the same activity that an amateur does, but you're doing it for a gain. So we're engaged in an activity to get a financial return. The other thing that's very important is this, what we call a line of conduct, okay? We need to follow the behaviors that a professional will follow, okay? So even if we're not yet that professional trader or we're not yet that professional psychologist, as I went through training, I went through many stages of learning the conduct of a profession, all right? You have to think about this, guys. You are trying to be a professional. Now, you know, Tom Busby is a fairly good golfer, and Tom loves to golf. Sometimes he golfs 3 times in a weekend. I don't know how he does it, but he does. But you can tell the guy likes golfing. He also loves air shows, you know. But there's a big difference between Tom Busby and Tiger Woods. You know, Tom Busby's a good golfer, but he doesn't profess to be a professional trader. Now, he may have some bets. I'm not going to say these guys don't have little bets out. You all do that. But he's not, Tom Busby isn't planning on making his living as a professional golfer. And Tom, if you are, forget it. You know, there's younger guys than us that'll beat us out, and, you know, stick with the trading thing, Tom. It's too late to make a career change. But you have to think about that, you know, you got, you know, he loves to play golf, but he's intelligent enough to know he's no professional golfer. So, you know, he's doing it, but he's not doing it for a financial gain, whereas Tiger Woods is. And I mean, Tiger's probably out there practicing every day, for crying out loud. He started practicing as a child. You know, Tom wasn't out there practicing as a child with his dad hanging over him. I know a little bit about it. Read some of Tom's books, you know, about his family. I'm sure his father told him to work hard, and his father was tough. But he wasn't like Tiger Woods' dad taking him out on the golf course. His dad would probably say, that golfing's frivolous, man. Get a job. Anyway, so think about that. We want to think in this manner. So, you know, one of the things you have to tell yourself, and I would really tell you to print this out, you know, in fact, let's get you a little lively here. Stand up. Everybody stand up in their chair. And if you're in a wheelchair, I apologize. Imagine yourself standing up, or just sit up straight, okay? But I want everybody to get up for a minute. I'm going to get up too along with you, all right? I want you to get up, shake around a little bit, that's good, and face your screen. There are several hundred of us here. Pretend like you're facing us, and I want you to, you know, get up, say to everybody in there, hi, I'm Frank, and I am a professional trader. You know, hey, I'm TJ Pac-Man, and I'm a professional trader. Hey, I'm Rick Thompson, and I'm a professional trader. You know, you got to go and say that. Get up and say that. Introduce yourself. If you don't do that, you're going to have trouble with this. I've done this with some people. This simple thing, people have emailed me back, and when I do a live class, when I'm in front of them, they tell me, you know what, that made a major difference in my trading. You know, your body has memory. It has physical memory. You know, when I introduce myself, I used to, hi, what do you do? I'm a clinical psychologist. Now sometimes I decide, I don't know what I'm telling them, you know, and a lot of times I'll say, well, depending on the audience, I'm a clinical psychologist, and I'm also a professional trader. What do you trade? I trade options a lot, you know, and they're more interested in that than they are in the psychology thing, you know, but I don't mind. I tell them both now. I had to. You know, and I don't run around telling other psychologists I'm doing it, because then they'll get jealous, and I don't want them to know my secret of making money. Let them keep working as a psychologist. No, I'm just teasing. But I am a professional trader. Okay, so you can sit down now. I usually have people type in here, but I really want you to do it. Very good, Kurt. Kurt says, I'm a professional trader, and I have the success and failure to prove it. And that's a very good point. We don't win at every game. You know, no one does. Professionals have bad days and good days. We've got to remember that. So since we're now sitting up and we're saying we are now professional traders, hi, I'm a professional trader, what makes a professional? All right, one is programmed education. If you're just starting your education, start behaving like a professional trader. Start talking to professional traders. Start, learning those behaviors. But you're still not there. But I would say I'm a professional trader. When doctors go through training, when they're on their internship, they will say I'm Dr. Jones or I'm Dr. Smith, even though they're not fully licensed as a physician. But they call them that doctor. Once you're done with medical school and you get your internship and your residency, you're a doctor. I had the same thing. Hi, I'm Dr. Stanley. I'm a resident at the University of Florida. That's what we would often tell them. I am one of the residents. We had to do that by, I guess, Truth in Advertising or something. We weren't yet licensed because we had to have that supervision, but we had a lot of experience. So I want you guys to say you're a professional trader, and if it makes you comfortable right now, if this is your first day learning things, say, I'm a professional trader in training, but you got to get that in there. So we're all getting program education, I can tell you. Tom, everybody else I know, Tony Batista, Tom Sosnoff, I can go on and on all these guys. Let me tell you, they are always getting educated. All professionals continue to educate themselves. So don't feel any different than we are. We may already know what a certain important bar is, a certain time frame is, but guess what? Every time I go to something, the Traders Expo, or I'm even at a DTI thing, I'm learning something every day, and I really get frustrated at times when I got other commitments and I can't pay attention to it because I find little gems along the way that make me a better trader. No holy grail, but even something like this that's just talking about my mindset. And also, professionals get supervised. I have been supervised in my career. I have people who are licensed who ask me about their cases. I have other traders who ask me about their trades. I ask other traders about my trades. I ask other professionals. I run my cases by them. You never end your supervision. You never end your supervision, okay? Also, rate yourself as a professional trader. I want you to take a few minutes when you're done with the presentation, not now, and on a scale from 1 to 10, where are you today? Where are you at this moment in terms of your role as a trader? And keep this. Place an X there. In fact, place an X and put the date. And keep telling yourself, what do I need to become a 10? What do I need to become a 10? Okay? And again, if you're not doing what you want to do, how do you take on the role of a professional trader to do what you want to do, to become what you want to do? And so you have to ask yourself, what are the characteristics of a professional trader? And again, I'm not going to read all this to you because I'm going to give you a copy of the slides. I know I've only have a brief period of time to present this to you, so I want you to take your time and review this and write yourself notes on it and analyze it. But these are all the things that a professional trader does: homework, technical training, decision making, acceptance, flexibility. When I do my workshop, I attack all of these things. I address all these things from a psychological standpoint. These are the things that we need to do. Flexibility is a big one. Another very important thing is competence and confidence. Okay? You have to develop confidence as a professional trader. And I'm going to take that off now that you guys have done that because I want to, I don't know if that's blocking out your slides. You can close that if you want by crossing the X. I'm going to get that out of my way so you can cross it out with the X if you want. Okay, so, you want to develop confidence and competence. How confident do you feel? How competent do you feel? And how much confidence do you have in your competence? Okay, you got to supervise yourself, and you have to consult with others to build up that confidence. So you just don't have to be competent. You just don't have to learn the stuff. You have to be confident in your trading. Well, psychology is what makes you be confident. Not just being able to do it, but you got to be comfortable. You have to be in a comfortable skin. Okay, so another thing that can help you to learn what competence is, and this is probably easy for many of us, learn to know what incompetence looks like. I can tell you a lot of stuff about incompetence. Now, I don't want you to focus on the rough and not the green, so I don't want to get you too distracted here. But if you say, geez, I don't know what competence is, well, I'm sure all of us who've already traded can list 5 things very quickly that are our incompetence. And we don't want to do that anymore. Then if that's the case, what is the opposite I do? What is the opposite thing I can do? Now, one of the things I said before is we call it locus of control in psychology. We look at the market. Oh, the market did this. Oh, I need to learn this thing. Focus from the market to yourself, okay? Forget about the environmental factors, even though they're there, and responsible for yourself. One of the things I've tried to drill in my kids, you know, they have trouble. I know there's an ego thing. You got to build your ego strength, but it's like, well, I made this mistake because of this. You know, it's always excuses. Well, you can do that, but if you keep using excuses, you're never going to be successful in anything you do, because you got to own it. You got to take responsibility. One of the things you can do with this is think about what the problem is for you. What is the problem that you're having to develop that confidence and your competence, and then start looking at the problems, and then start doing some, if you will, some brainstorming, you know, and they'll fall out. One other thing I want to talk about is what we call parallel processes. And, you know, think about what things you're doing in your life, or what's going on in your life that basically are influencing or impacting your trading. Because what are you doing that is impacting the trading? Okay, what difficulties might you be facing in your life? What things don't you like about trading? Hey, you don't like everything about a profession. I don't like the homework. I don't like sitting on my butt for an hour. whatever. You know, I don't like the fear part of it. Think about those things. You know, now the same thing is, see if those are in other situations. No one really likes to do homework. You just accept homework. You know, I think anybody who'd like to do homework in college is crazy. It'd be better out there partying, you know, be out there playing golf. I wasn't much of a partier, but I'd be rather out there. I like to play football and stuff like that. I'd rather be out there doing that. I like to fish. I like to swim. A lot of other things. I used to be a runner, you know. So basically, in your other situations in your life, what were the things that you didn't like, and what did you do about them? What did you do, or what can you do to change these? So parallel processes are events outside of trading that can impact our trading performance. That's basically what it is. They can impact our performance. So we have to figure out what are these other things going on that could be having a negative influence on us. Now, another important thing is, I want you guys, this is not just an exercise in mental manipulation. This is an exercise in taking action. Okay? I don't care if your first action is to get these slides, review them with your leisure, and take one or two of those slides, maybe even the zone of comfort one, and you can change the background color and print them out and put them on your desk, wherever you need them. Okay. The first step you have to do is say, I'm going to take action. You know, focus on your outcomes of trading. Be aware of everything. What is my goal? My goal is to make money. What am I making? What's going on? What am I doing psychologically that is good for my trading, and what am I doing that is bad for my trading? Don't get self-critical. Stay what I call performance-based. Focus strictly on your performance and what's going on psychologically at the moment that's helping your performance. And one of the big steps is to identify your goals that you need to develop. In other words, identify the goals that you need to develop your skills as a professional trader. That's the very first step. So before you even take action, I want you to go ahead and identify what skills do I need, and then identify those as the goals that you're going to work toward. Another thing is, once you've done that, create an action plan. Now, this is an extremely important point, by the way, so write a note to yourself. Slide number 30, extremely important point. Don't miss this one. Create an action plan, putting in specific behaviors that you are going to initiate or you're going to change that will make you a better trader. You can do this with your golf or anything else. This is human performance stuff, folks, and it works. When you do that, put that plan in writing. It may take you an hour or two. There's a lot of psychological research that says that writing down things is very important. It keeps us responsible. It really makes us focus. Hey, if you're like me, my mind wanders. I have a little bit of ADD. I got to have things written down. I talked to Tom earlier today. I wrote down notes to myself. Tom says, write these down. I said, I already am. He probably has the same problem I do. You know, too much stuff in your head. So do that. And then also, don't be hard on yourself, but write down dates for change. Write down the dates that you're going to accomplish this, or you're going to somewhat get to accomplish it, okay? So think about that. You know, give yourself some kind of deadline. You know, why do we have deadlines in school? Well, we have to. You know, my kids don't like deadlines. I don't necessarily like deadlines, but, you know, my daughter says, well, Professor, can you extend this deadline? Well, if he never gave you a deadline, you never get done, you know? So you got to think about that. What I want you to do right now is identify one thing that you want to learn, either psychologically or technically, to improve yourself as a trader. Just think about that. You don't have to write this down immediately. Identify that one thing. Identify one thing that you want to learn or improve as a trader, because you got to start one step at a time. Identify one area that you have had confidence in your competence, and see if you can transfer the skill to your present trading skill. So in other words, in your past life as a pilot, let's say, you had confidence in your competence to deal with an emergency, or confidence in your competence to have a flight plan. Then transfer this over. Then get your trader plan in there. Okay? Get your trader plan in there. Yes, it is a live presentation, Joe. Also, one other very, very valuable thing, and I'll be done with this, and we'll let everybody go home and do their golfing, whatever they want to do swimming, take a nap. I hope you print it out and take a break, have a little snack, and then come back and go over some of the stuff. A very important thing is visualize yourself as a trader. This is a good exercise. Think about what are the characteristics. You don't have to do this now. This is on your own. Think about the characteristics of a professional trader. I gave you a list of them. Then pick one of those characteristics. Then on a regular basis, and this is meta communications, by the way. There's a lot of research for this, so that's not a game. This is very serious. High performance people, the guy who does the golf, who putts that ball, the guy who hits that ball, who whatever. These guys, the guy who jumped out of that, remember that guy who jumped way up in the atmosphere? I actually know the psychologist who worked with him. I personally know him. And all the work went into that. And this guy did a lot of visualization before he did that so he would be prepared. So pick one characteristic. Visualize what you would look like as that professional trader with that one characteristic. You then can pick something from nature. And this is in my regular workshop, and I'm giving you a really good gem here. Pick something in nature that could represent that. The guy who jumped, did that halo jump, he might pick an eagle, and that eagle represents him. And then visualize that image from nature daily. So you first visualize yourself as being a professional trader with that characteristic. Then as soon as you do that, shift and visualize. In this case, this guy would be the eagle. And then over time, just visualize the eagle, because your subconscious mind will pick this up. Visualizing yourself as a trader, doing that is very important. That's rehearsal. But you also want to get a symbolic image, because if you don't, it won't communicate totally with your subconscious mind. You want this to become subconscious, folks. You want this to be you want to do it automatically, you know. And then what I would also say is start engaging in that characteristic or that behavior of a professional trader for the next week, okay? Engage in that as that professional trader for the next week. So I want you to think about that characteristic, then I want you to visualize it, then I want you to pick something from nature that represents it. It could be a lion, a tiger, a giant great white shark, whatever fits your thing. It could be a beautiful mountain scene, whatever. And then start visualizing that. And as you visualize that, actually engage in that characteristic or that behavior for the next week. And you will find that that greatly improves your trading. I mean, there's so much research on this. So I really want you guys to give you a professional edge in being a trader. Now, I hope this was beneficial to you. We will push this out. Also, I do have a workshop. I'll be giving it again. It's psychological workshop in trading psychology. It involves a lot of just good old common sense, okay? There's a lot of psychological principles, but it's also good common sense, okay? Good common sense. I try to use what I've learned from real-life stories from other traders. What I found that they've told me, both negative and positive. I always joke around with my clients or my family. I said, I've lived a million lives as a psychologist. I've heard so many stories from guys who went to Nam, guys who went to Afghanistan, guys who went to the moon, guys who've lost all their portfolios. It's amazing. And I can tell you, one of the things you'll pick up on me is I'm very confident in what I'm talking about here. You know, you can listen to the confident in my voice. I'm very confident about what I'm telling you guys, because I wouldn't mislead you, okay? Now, we're going to have a workshop, and this workshop, I think it's going to be in May, because I told Adam I wanted to be sure I was ready. So you can join me for 4 sessions. They're going to be 4 2-hour sessions. Now, don't leave yet, because I'm going to tell you something that's going to blow your mind. It's not a finagle. It's a real McCoy, guys. So there's 4 sessions. We're going to try to teach you to manage one of the most difficult aspects of trading, myself and yourself. I'll include myself in here. I'm not left out here either. Okay? There's 4 sessions. There's manuals. helping you to see yourself as a professional trader. There's professional trader checklist. I mean, it's a buku, it's a boatload of stuff. As John says, this is critical mass stuff. It really, really is. Okay? By the way, I have so much confidence in what I do that you're going to have your satisfaction guaranteed. If you are not satisfied after your first 2-hour session with me, DTI and I will refund all your money. Okay? You will get your money refunded. So it's a money-back guarantee. Now, we're not going to let you do all 4 sessions and do this because that would be being dishonest, and I'm a big bugger about honesty. So, but you will, satisfaction guaranteed. If after the first 2 hours you don't feel it's for you, we will refund your money. You know, we're going to put money where our mouth is. Special bonus today, you know, sign up now and get a free look at this must-have opportunity. And it really is a must-have opportunity. If you don't have the psychological house in order and trader, don't trade anymore because you're going to lose all your money over the long run. I know this from my own experience. Just today, this is a $1,000 course. Just today, Tom Busby twisted my arm, and it's still hurting, for a DTI to sell this for $7.99. Okay, this is where you can purchase it. So you're getting this for $200 off what people paid before. It's not going to stay at this price. Remember, I have done things, I could charge $10,000 per trader at Goldman Sachs, and I will be doing some of that stuff. You're going to get this at a really, really reduced rate. The first session, if you feel it's not for you, DTI will refund your money. We're also going to have an orientation conference call. We're going to have an orientation conference call. You also can call DTI at 800-745-7444 if you want to talk to them or sign up. And the number's also at the bottom of this slide. I'll leave this so you can click it. Adam has put it in there. So, you know, do yourself a favor. It's a money-back guarantee. One of the things I've learned, Tom used to have this thing called chicken, fish, or steak, and actually I'd watch this when I was at a restaurant, and he'd say, you know, he'd watch people at a restaurant, and they're hesitating, and it was driving him crazy because, you know, he can only be so patient. It's like, and Tom is buying them a meal, and I've actually had this experience with my own kids, you know, and they're like, well, let me see, what's this, and should I eat that, and how's it chicken? And Tom just says, you know, chicken, fish, or steak, just get your meal so we can eat and enjoy ourselves, you know, versus spending an hour looking at the menu and 5 minutes eating because we've run out of time. So one of the very important characteristics of a trader is to make a fast decision. This is a money-back guarantee. Everybody in this room who has not taken my psychological workshop should be signing up for this. Every one of you are. If you're not, then maybe you're not serious about trading. And I can say this with confidence. Your money will be refunded if in the first 2 hours you do not find that this is of value to you. You know, it's a no-brainer, folks. It really is a no-brainer. So with this, I'll give you a few moments to sign up. If you have a question here or there, I will also see if I can repost this for you. I'm going to check this in the documents folder and see how it goes. So I'll be back in a couple of minutes. Let me see if I can post this, and I'll wrap it up in just a minute or two. But, I mean, it's a no-brainer, folks. So it's kind of cute. He's one of our students, and he's been around for a long time. He didn't want to miss it, but I said, no, don't miss the Thunderbirds. They ain't going to be around too much longer. All right, so this morning we're going to be talking a little bit about psychology of trading. And really, I don't do a lot of frou-frou stuff. I'm a pretty matter-of-fact guy and get right down to business, which I'm going to be doing here. This morning, I was talking to Tom Busby, who's the founder of DTI, and we were just talking about, and he and I have had these conversations before over dinner and things like that over the years in terms of just what really seems to be a difficult thing for people. And a lot of times we see people put a lot of effort in and then they really don't complete what they had planned on doing. And if any of you were here 2 weeks ago, I did the 3 Ds of mindfulness trading. Now, if you missed that, I do have a YouTube video. You can email me at that Trader Shepherd email, and I will get you a link to it. I don't have the link right now. Just getting to be an expert at YouTube, and I opened up a YouTube account. It's a pretty long file. It goes for about 55 minutes, but it was kind of a nice segue into this presentation, and I will do it again in the future, but if you'd like to see it, just email me and I'll get you that link. I was having trouble getting it up here. I was actually working till 2 o'clock last night for some things I had to do here unrelated to DTI, so it's been kind of a busy day already. But anyway, I was talking to Tom Busby, and we were just talking about things, you know, and it reminded me of And I believe it was Napoleon Hill in his book, and I think a lot of you probably relate to this. I can too. It was about this man, and he was one of these, gold miners, and he was searching for gold and digging every day of his life, and finally he just, he wasn't finding that gold, and he was just getting exhausted. And he finally just quit and said, just enough, threw down his shovel and went, and, I don't know what he did, probably drank himself to death. I don't know. I can't remember the rest of the story. But one of the things that happened was this poor guy was digging, and he didn't realize it, but he was only 3 feet away from the gold. And so this other guy came along, started digging, and in less than an hour, he hit this big vein of gold. And a lot of times we can be like that guy who've been searching for things all our lives in a variety of ways, or searching for the Holy Grail and such, and then we find out that it was right there. And a lot of times what happens is there's just simple emotions. It could be regret, it could be fear, and those emotions really prevent us from making those last 3 feet. Maybe it's exhaustion. So what I've really been trying to do with my psychology workshop, and those of you who know me, I teach an options class, been doing it for over 3.5 years. I've actually revised that class, and I'm actually revising all my classes as I get feedback from students. I'm very good about that. And really, I'm here today to start to introduce you into some psychological concepts. This is pretty much information-based, not necessarily workshop-based. I won't fix all the problems of the world in the next 40 minutes. However, what I want to do is I want to try to help you remove some of your fear and doubt when you look at trading, and try to extract that away for you. I really see so many people, and I've worked with so many traders, and I work with other people too. You can see I'm a psychologist, and a lot of these people, they get so close to that pot of gold, and they just don't make it. If you have a problem with that, I'll broadcast. I'm not going to interrupt now to broadcast it, but I will get it projected back there. If you're having trouble with the PDF, we'll get it in there later for you. I see people just struggle with things, and not just in trading. I mean, I've done a lot of consulting. Athletes too. That those last 3 feet of the race, and you just can't make it. And it's really unfortunate, because when you learn about human performance, what you learn is that a lot of times